All right, well, happy, what is it today? 12th of February, 2026. And I just came out here a few moments ago to something that I hadn't seen before. Why are you guys inside the feeder? How did this happen? That was that. These ewes here, these are all ewes, female sheep. They were inside, I had about 5 of them inside of the hay feeder. And so they had found a way to get inside of this hay feeder. So what they did was, the way that this is being fed to them, they can push on this, but they had eaten it down so much that they weren't able to get any more. They weren't being fed. And so what they did was they found a little opening over here on this side, actually. Right down there, there was a little opening. I've since fixed it. And they were resourceful, and they scooted in, and I think they kind of like multiple went on this side, a few went on that side, and they weren't able to turn around, and they were just kind of hanging out. But they were being well fed, that's for sure. Now, let me give you a little gospel reflection on that, because I'm working so hard, I'm trying so hard to evangelize this diocese, and it's difficult. But you meet other people along the way that are trying to do similar things, or at least evangelize in the diocese in their own particular way, and it's beautiful to meet those people and to see what they're doing and to see how the Holy Spirit is trying to work through them. But I feel very often like sheep that maybe just can't get what they need. They push up upon this and they just, they're not being fed. And so they want to do something different. They want to get fed. They want to find a way in, find a way to do something to get their family what they need, to get their kids what they need, to get their spouse what they need, or their marriage, or whatever it is, whatever vocation they're in, or state in life that they're in. Here in the Diocese of St. Cloud, we, as a diocese, are not being fed. And I'm not saying that to blame anybody, although I could. And I don't think that we should shy away from crying out to those people that are in positions to feed us. When I come out here and these sheep are hungry, they let me know. And tonight when I came out here and they were hungry, they let me know. And so that's good to do. Jesus is the good shepherd. Our bishops are our shepherds, and we need to cry out to them. And like a good shepherd, when it's brought to their attention, I think they will feed us. I don't think it's out of malice that these things are happening. I think it's out of an overwhelm maybe, or just maybe not knowing the extent to which the sheep are not being fed. So when I come out here and my sheep are in my hay feeder, I say, whoa, what's going on out here? I need to feed my sheep. And I react and I do something to feed these sheep. Now, the sheep are all in here because that's what sheep do when they're not being fed. If I say, hey, where am I supposed to send my children to get a Catholic education because I can't afford the Catholic schools, they're too expensive, then that's the sheep crying out that we're not being fed. I just talked to a gentleman the other day who's a teacher in the Catholic school system who can't afford to send his children, even with the discount, to the Catholic school system. Because the Catholic school system keeps jacking up its tuition. It keeps hiking it up. And it's lost the whole idea behind what it means to be a Catholic school. Our Catholic schools aren't producing vocations. Our diocese is not producing vocations. So we're going through this All Things New initiative, this downsizing of all and consolidating of the parishes and the structures and institutions, and all that can be fine, but at the end of it, can we please get a Catholic school that will help foster the vocations to the religious life and to the priesthood and to the married life? Because otherwise we're not being fed still. And so what do? We homeschool. Many of us choose to homeschool because we can't send our kids in good conscience to the public schools. And so we homeschool because we have to, because we can't send our kids to a school that has a Catholic name but is not producing Catholic vocations. There's something wrong there. We all know it. We all know it. There's something wrong there. There's something off spiritually. So can we please be fed? Now, I've taken these petitions to the prior bishop. I've taken this to the current bishop. I've taken this to every priest that I know, which is a bunch. I know a bunch of priests. I've taken this to the principal of the one of the Catholic high schools. I've taken this to the head of CCS. I've taken it to the previous head of CCS. I've taken it to the current superintendent of Catholic schools. I've taken it to everybody that I can think of before making this video. Before going and saying these things. So I'm saying this from a position that canon law, paragraph or code 212 allows me to say. I've made my needs known in the order in which I should make them known. And now here I am, and I'm still not being fed. I still have no school that I can send my children to where they'll be raised in the Catholic faith. And you can say that X school down the street is a Catholic school and it will do that, but show me the fruit. By your fruits you shall know them. Show me the vocations. Show me that when they get through 5th grade that they know the 10 Commandments by heart, that they know the Pater Noster, that they know the Ave Maria, that they can say the Rosary, the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, that they can tell me with enthusiasm about the lives of the saints. Tell me where these kids are in mass, because a school should be able to create a culture in mass, meaning at scale, not like the mass, right? That's what the job of a school is. And if not, then I'm a sheep crying out to my shepherds, please help me. Because what happens when sheep don't get fed is they find another way to get fed. They're not stupid. A lot of people think sheep are stupid. I don't know about your sheep, if you have sheep. My sheep are not stupid. My sheep are very resilient. They're very smart. And they know what they need. And they communicate what they need very well. And then if the shepherd is not going to feed them, then they go and they get fed themselves. They find a way. They hop a fence. They slip under a fence. They press on the feeder. They do what they need to do to feed their family. They do what they need to do to feed themselves. And I think about when Jesus, right before he feeds the 5,000, he weeps for the people there. For they are like sheep without a shepherd, he says. They are like sheep without a shepherd. And I think Jesus is weeping for us right now in the Diocese of St. Cloud. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like sheep without a shepherd. Where am I supposed to get a reverent liturgy? Without reservation. Where am I supposed to get an unapologetic, reverent, beautiful liturgy? I have to travel very far to make that happen. That's the only way that I can get fed. There's no food readily available. I have to find a way. And that's part of, being a Catholic man is you have to find a way. And you have to take care of your family. You have to do certain things. But I hope you can see what I'm saying. We live in a diocese that is projecting decline for the next 10 years at least, according to their own projections listed on their own website. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with if I had these sheep out here and I was projecting that they would die off over the next 10 years, I would change things. I would reimagine what I need to do so that they got fed, so that they could reproduce, so that they could do what they're supposed to do, so that they could, be sheep, do what sheep do. So I don't think it's by mistake that Jesus uses the example of the Good Shepherd. I think anybody with sheep, anybody that's been around sheep, really, anytime you go out and you tend to those sheep, it really hits home what's going on in the world and what's going on in our diocese, and let him who has ears hear. That the reason that our pews are empty or emptying is because we're not being fed. The reason that our Catholic schools are dying off is because they're not feeding the Catholic culture. We need to reimagine it. We need to rebuild it. And I think I know that comes from the laity. Now, this is going to be, this sounds like, I don't know, problematic, I suppose, but it's not. We need to, as laity, band together like sheep and find ways to feed ourselves. And then, when the shepherd comes out and sees that his sheep are hungry and that they've found ways to feed themselves, maybe the shepherd will do something. We need to step it up as laity, because we're not helpless. Sheep are not helpless. We're not helpless, and we can do things. We can build schools. We can build colleges. We can form apostolates. We can do so much. Businesses. We can support each other, and we have to, because otherwise, we're not going to be fed. And my hope is that our example, when we go out and lead, when we go out and do something, when we make our needs known and they're not received and heard and nothing's done, that then we go out and we do the thing anyways. We find ways to feed ourselves. We build those institutions that can provide the leader. That is the leadership that's needed to say, okay, now we can move as a church, bishop, priests, religious, married, all moving in the same direction. We have good ideas, and we just need to see those out. So, anyway, that's my prayer. That we would find ways to be fed, and if they don't come from our shepherds, that we would still be able to nurture that spiritual life and find ways of feeding ourselves.